you were saying about timelessness is similar to that which I've heard in two other areas, psychic awareness or ESP. That you get into a different kind of reality which is beyond space and time. I've also heard it in that feeling of the memories. Here, Christ can feel, or he is not bound up like driving bad. He was. I'm wondering.
That's a very, very important point which you are raising. I will come back to that, but first let me just clarify this. We can say that God is not in the past, and God is not in the future, and God is not in the present. Where is God?
God is everywhere.
There is no limitation.
Well, we have to have some verbal expression of that dimension of reality, which is where God can be found.
Eternity?
Yes, in eternal now, in the timeless now. And it's good to understand the difference between the present and the timeless now. What's the difference?
Present is still living eternity.
Right.
That's out of living eternity.
Exactly. Right. Thank you, John. The present is a time frame. The past is a time frame, and the future is a. God cannot be framed, put into a frame. Right? So we need a certain concept which is extratemporal. And that is the timeless now, which is synonymous, as John said, with eternity. Eternity is not in the present, it is a now. It is timelessness. And that, of course, has great practical value whenever we are disturbed by something that happened in the past. There are some people who have not many of us, I think everybody, had occasions of unpleasant experiences, regrettable, painful, disturbing, which happened in the past. And then one feels hopeless. Oh, I made this terrible mistake in the past and I will never be able to get over it. The right understanding of timelessness and of God's omnipresence makes it possible to pray effectively for the healing of the past. Recently, a clergyman came very disturbed. He has given a speech in some church as a guest and got carried away, and what he was saying to the people in that audience was very disturbing to the people. He lost control of himself and did a lot of bragging and made disturbing statements. And he was crestfallen. He was receiving letters accusing him of having caused suffering to people with what he said. And he didn't know what to do and was suffering pangs of guilt feelings and was very disturbed. So then we considered the possibility of healing the past through prayer. And we did it the following way. We considered the fact that God is not in a time frame, but in a timeless now. And what is needed is for us to catch a glimpse of God's presence. And in the presence of God, all things are healed. Therefore, what we proceeded to do is to lift the curtain of time and peek, so to speak, underneath the curtain and behold the healing presence of divine love. So we considered, what is the curtain of time made of? The curtain, you see, is the existential structure of time, which is the curtain of time, is made of dreams, fantasies, and imagination. The past is a dream. The future is a fantasy. And the present is imagination. A Zen master put it this way: the past is gone, the future is not yet, and the present you haven't got the vaguest idea about. So the past is a dream, the future a fantasy, and the present is imagination. Because as long as we live in time, we do not perceive reality. We see our own thoughts about reality. So by peeking under the curtain of time, we seek to behold reality. The presence of the healing power of divine love. And that perception suddenly relieves us of the burden of past mistake. How is that possible? It is the realization that we don't have the power to cause unalterable wrong. To cause unalterable wrong. Because God is the only power and the only intelligence. And what was, is. And that which is not under our control, but under God's power. Therefore, what is needed is that a healing take place in the consciousness of the individual who is disturbed by what was. And as he gains peace in the awareness of God's presence, the past is erased and is healed. Now, an interesting thing happened. After we have peeked under the curtain of time, this individual became peaceful and quite grateful in the knowledge that God can heal the past. Next day, he received a telephone call from the minister in charge of that church where he was giving a talk, and found that everything has changed, that they appreciated his talk, and no ill effect has ensued from what he said. As a matter of fact, they were grateful to him for having come and spoken there. So we had confirming evidence of the fact that it is possible to heal the past by peeking under the curtain of time and contacting God in the timeless now. I think that's a very comforting realization. We don't have to suffer for our past mistakes. All we need is to understand the 3 R's of metapsychiatry. Would you like to know the 3 R's of metapsychiatry? The 3 R's of metapsychiatry are as follows: recognition, regret, and reformation. Patented? Yes, of course. Recognition, regret, and reformation. When we have a problem, we need to recognize its meaning. Then we need to regret it, because problems usually ensue from mistakes or insufficient understanding. Yes?
We can clarify.
Yes, very good. Right. What do we mean by meaning? Meaning must not be confused with cause. If you remember early, we said that we transcend cause and effect thinking. Meaning is the mental equivalent of a problem. what is a mental equivalent? No, what really isn't.
What really is
Yeah. Meaning is the mental equivalent of a phenomena. You see, problems are phenomena. And phenomena are externalizations of thought processes. Therefore, if we seek to understand the meaning of a problem, then we seek to discover the underlying thinking processes which have generated that problem or which express themselves as a problem rather than generate. Because if we say generate, we would ascribe cause. Yes. You see, thought processes have a tendency to become phenomena and become perceptually accessible. So we seek, by recognition, we mean coming to understand the meaning of a problem. In other words, we have to see that we made a mistake, that we were mistaken, and in what way we were mistaken. Now this clergyman got carried away with himself and spoke on a level which was both self-confirmatory and way above the heads of the audience. And that created a disturbance. So he came to recognize the meaning of the problem. And he regretted it sincerely. And then he sought reformation by peeking under the curtain of time and realizing that God is the only power and the only presence and the only intelligence and the power to heal the past and the future and the present and everything. And in that realization he found his peace. And that peace was the healing. And then it was confirmed by the telephone call. So it is possible to heal the past, because the past is a dream, the future a fantasy, and the present is imagination.
That, however, brings in a whole new dimension of healing, for me, at any rate, because in seeking healing for himself, in effect, what happened was that he, plus all of those others who had been injured by the action, they were all healed.
Right. Exactly.
Think about that.
You see, it is just as easy for God to heal 1,000 people as to heal one. Yes?
I have a question about recognizing the meaning of the problem, especially when it's way down deep beyond the capability of the life to lead. And even if we knew what the problem was with the spiritual guide to lift it up into the present or even awareness, like it's a very dangerous thing to do, because it's too right. The pain is too great. I know that Agnes Sanford, for instance, says that everything can get healed by the eternal Christ. So I certainly question whether that is possible without reckoning. The Christian who will ask for healing all my past painful memories, which seems to me to be and then very shortcut is not really doing all the work necessary. And I just wondered about that.
Well, that's a very good question. And if you remember, we spoke about phenomenological perceptivity. Can you remember that we spoke about phenomenological? What did we say about that?
It's our understanding of what seems to be,
Of the meaning.
of the meaning of what seems to
Yes,
be.
right. It is a method described and explained by Edmund Husserl, whereby an open-minded confrontation with that which reveals itself can make it possible for a spiritual guide to discern the meaning of a problem and shed light on it for the patient and help him understand it. And this kind of shedding light we call hermeneutic clarification, and it helps the individual to attain the first art, which must be attained, namely recognition. So recognition entails not only knowing that I suffer, but it also entails knowing the meaning of my suffering. Not why I suffer, but what is the meaning, what is the mental equivalent of my suffering. And that, when that is understood and clarified, then we have the first step, recognition. And then there is the second step, regret, which would correspond to repentance. And then there is the Reformation process, where the mistaken mental thought processes are corrected through a confrontation with reality, divine reality. And in that correction, there is reformation. The outlook of the individual is spiritualized, and healing takes place.
In other words, the recognition is not any anomaly of reality, but it is some idea of what he thought that is better to get out of building, not necessarily mean that the place is better, like the identification, the like out, that it here, if you
Well, let me give an example. Perhaps it will be healthier, easier to understand. Recently, a man was suffering greatly from his hernia. He had a hernia. And as we were talking about his hernia, other problems, it became clear that he has a mode of being in the world where he is constantly exerting a tremendous effort and getting people to feel sorry for him. This was his mode of being in the world. Exerting himself and to get his family and friends and even strangers, business associates, get people to feel sorry for him. That was his way of self-confirmatory manipulation. And so it became clear that this hernia is just an expression of that tremendous effort over the years. This was clarified to him. He could see it. He recognized it, but he didn't regret it. And then he went and had surgery performed on himself. The hernia was repaired surgically. He enjoyed the experience tremendously. Praised the surgeon to high heaven and the hospital, what wonderful care he received. He enjoyed the whole experience because it was right down his alley. People were solicitous of him. And then came back and seemed to be very happy, except he hasn't stopped exerting himself to get people to feel sorry for him. It keeps going on. And guess what happened?
Something else wrong. And he wound back up to the hospital again.
The hernia returned.
But it's hard. I got to say, he's getting accurate. The technique realize, but
Well, he could see that this is his way of confirming himself. He could see that he's doing this, but he hasn't realized that there is a more intelligent way to live. He did not regret it.
So
He
we're at
considered
step
that,
one,
yes, he
but
went
not
to step.
step two.
He was not ready to make step 2. Maybe now he will be. Sometimes it takes time till we begin to get to step 2 regret. Right, and then hopefully the third step will come too. So what needs to be here is this mental idea, an idea which is in his mind, that the successful way to live is to have the power to get people to feel sorry for him. If you ask this question, then your concept of man needs to be updated. Because the whole concept of psychosomatic means that the body can get hurt through the mind. That our mind can hurt our body. Which means there is a mind and there is a body. And the body can hurt the mind and the mind can hurt the body. This is an obsolete concept. There is no such thing anymore as psychosomatic medicine, even though I teach the course over that. But what is there is phenomenology. Mind and body are one. And what we see in the world is the manifestation of certain ways of thinking. Thought is the basic stuff of life. Thought is a unit of mental energy which can manifest itself as speech, as activity, as behavior, or as symptom. So thought is everything. Now, the hernia needed to be repaired surgically, and it probably will have to be done again. But all that work will be of no help unless his way of thinking is redeemed. Be of no help unless his way of thinking is redeemed. So the issue is not whether it's psychosomatic or isn't psychosomatic. The issue is the mode of being in the world.
Isn't that what Jesus really meant then when he
By
said,
the fruits.
no, not by the fruits. What I was going to say is, do you want to be healed?
Right, of course. It's very important, yes. And it's a basic ethic of psychotherapy and particularly spiritual guidance that we cannot heal anybody unless he has reached the point of sincerely desiring to be healed. And it would be a trespass to try to heal somebody against his will. And it wouldn't work anyway.
Are there differences here in traditional Christians on testing those there's no confession headed and reaction?
Well, essentially it's the same, but it's conceptualized in metapsychiatric terms. It's a secularization of that perception. Yeah.
How complete can that be? If we say purity of heart, it's the one thing. Can I ever be absolutely univocal? Can I ever really be integrated so complete that this will be the holistic health of my whole mind and spirit on that? Does it slip back all the time?
I'm afraid so, yeah.
So we'll have a theory to turn.
And who knows what else? Right.
So we're not just floating there.
Yeah, that comes along with your question about the dark night of the soul.
If you carry the floating analogy even just one step further, then that becomes very clear. Because once you begin to float, it feels great.
Right.
But if something, whatever it might be, happens that causes you to sort of stiffen up, to not relax, not rely on that buoyancy,
Right.
all of a sudden you begin to sink again.
Right. Right.
The weird.
A wave
Yeah.
in your face.
Or a motorboat passing by.
Well,
Right?
then, yeah, exactly. And one of those distractions that we
Right,
talked about,
right.
and make you tighten up
Yes.
and begin to think.
That's right.
I like that.
What?
You have to let it. I like what you said too about it has to let it. It has to be done. Mostly.
Yes.
So much. And
Right. That's a very important point. Yes. That reminds us of the first metapsychiatric principle. Who knows it? We have 11 principles. And the first one is as follows. Thou shalt have no other interest before the good of God, which is spiritual. The issue of interestedness is crucial. We have to reach a point where we are more interested in living in harmony with God, which we call omni-active love intelligence, than anything else. And perhaps that's what Kierkegaard meant about willing white thing. Purity of heart means purity of interest. Wholehearted interest in spiritual good. What is spiritual good? Pegel, that's right. Pegel. The interesting thing about Pegel is, you all know what it is. Peace, assurance, gratitude, and love. This Pegel is also a criterion which can help us to know whether we are on the right track on any issue in life, or whether we are just deceiving ourselves. If there is no awareness of Pegel, chances are we are just deceiving ourselves. And that's very easy to do. So Pegel is sort of a landmark or a sign which can help us to know whether or not we are on the right track. Were you going to say something?
Yes, das ist that very much answered question. Like the like I've been word signs I've done.
Right. Right. Yes. And when we are praying about any problem we might face, if we reach the point which we call Pegel point, then we know that the problem is healed. If we meditate and we reach Pegel point, we can stop meditating. There is a sense of assurance that whatever we are facing has been healed. And it's very helpful.
And now you would see the failing of some psychoanalysts as just skirting that kind of achievement and keeping the person coming back for a very good business reason. But also because often the analyst himself or herself doesn't have this quality. And a person, would you say that the a different state of, for the spiritual God is to enable this person to live within that dimension, quite aside from my counseling, to free the person to the eternal dimension of the deity and of the whole, but to let me out of this thing and to finish it up insofar as I can by enabling that person to flow.
Well, of course, we don't have to impute mercenary motivation on the psychoanalyst, but then we can have compassion for psychoanalysts because they do not have the awareness of the dimension of the spirit. And what they are working with is purely humanistic concepts. And they are trying to change the past by altering the present. But you see, the present is still in the time frame. It is not really possible to change the past by altering the present. It is only possible to be healed if we succeed in abolishing the